Hello, professors. Today, my theme of this concert is to state the development of etudes. I will list those great composers who contribute to etudes since Baroque period. First of all, what is an etude? The Girl Music Dictionary defines it as follows. Etude is French, which is synonymous with the English word study, and whose main purpose is to develop or demonstrate a particular aspect of performance. The Oxford Concise Music Dictionary defines etude as works for the purpose of improving the skill of the performer, and as short pieces, it is basically to improve a detailed technique. In the Baroque period, no one had written an etude for solo music, specifically for technical purposes. However, J.S. Bach once wrote piano pieces for his son. He adopted free counterpoint to reduce the weariness of fingering practice, including two-part, three-part invention and the well-tempered clavier, which was in essence an excellent exercise textbook. However, at that time, these works were not accurately positioned as etudes. After Bach, Scarlatti's piano sonatas are considered as etudes or training pieces, which are of great significance to the development of sonatas and also contribute to the training of performance skills. Heinrich Neuhorst once said, "From Bach's invention to Haydn, Jasper Pichner, and others, the piano teaching material is going worse and worse." Fortunately, in the autumn of 1804, Clementi's student Kremer published 42 etudes, which were a great success. In 1805, Daniel published 50 piano etudes after Kremer. Then, Kremer wrote a new set of 42 etudes in 1810. In 1817, Clementi published 29 preludes. 3 years after his death, Kremer published 16 etudes again. The Australian composer Charlie holds a unique position in the history of piano etudes in the 19th century. The total number of his etudes is 1,129, and each set has 50 pieces, totaling more than 20 sets, usually starting from 599, followed by 139, 849, 299, 740, and so on. It almost covers all types of piano technique at that time. The German composer Ignaz composed 42 piano etudes. After that, thanks to a group of musicians who were both piano performers and composers, a completely new kind of etude was born, which contained reinventing music poetry. Chopin was the first composer to inject artistic characteristics into etudes. Chopin's etudes are divided into 3 parts. Opus 12, which was composed from 1828 to 1833. Opus 25, composed from 1833 to 1837. And other 3 pieces including etude in F minor, D flat major, and F flat major. They were finished in 1840. Among them, the 3rd etude in E major of Opus 10, the 9th piece in E minor, the 12th piece in C minor, and the 1st piece in A flat major, the 5th one in D minor, the 11th piece in A minor, the 12th in C minor are all excellent works. In these works, Chopin injected his own deep emotion and unrestrained enthusiasm, and most of the content of this music is related to Chopin's patriotic passion and grief for the loss of his motherland. Schoenberger says, it was Chopin alone who put the romantic art of music of piano on track, and it has shown no signals of slowing down. To evolve from nothing into the most beautiful and original piano style of the 19th century. His fingering and pedal innovation were basically used until Debussy and Prokofiev was born. Once Chopin's etudes were written, there was nothing to dispute. Next, I'm going to play the 5th etude in D minor of Opus 25. This work is a typical ABA structure. The A part is witty and the B part is deep and beautiful. And at the same time, other composers such as Henstedt, Bertoni, Bergmüller, and Haydn also published many interesting etudes. and in a very short time, etudes had transferred from a classroom practice into public performance, which were presented to the audience. So, the concert etude was born. Liszt wrote many technical etudes, which were heavily influenced by his teacher Charlie. His etudes execution transcended as 139 was composed in 1851 and published 3 times. It became the pinnacle of 19th century's music. In 1852, at the age of 41, Liszt revised and published the 3rd draft, dedicated to Charlie. In addition, Liszt wrote a number of concert etudes as well as 6 Paganini etudes. After Chopin and Liszt, many composers followed their routine, such as Saint-Saëns, Scriabin, Rachmaninoff. After Chopin and Liszt, many composers followed their routines, such as Saint-Saëns, Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, Moszkowski, Debussy, Prokofiev, and so on. They all contribute their own characteristics to etudes development. Among them, Debussy's etudes stand out for their bright, innovative colors. Debussy developed a unique technique in the use of harmony and the genre of pedal. Stravinsky once said, "The musicians of my generation and myself owe much to Debussy." Debussy's piano etudes are his final composition in piano music, and they were in memory of Chopin. In these etudes, Debussy did not aim at training in speed, endurance, or strength. Each etude was based on a technical type or an event. The whole etude consists of 2 books. The first part focuses on technical arrangement, and the second one is a comprehensive and systematic recreation of a specific sound. Next, I will play the 7th etude for chromatic scale in the first book. The etude uses chromatic as main material. As we know, from Bach's chromatic fantasy to Chopin, Liszt, until Wagner's Tristan and Isolde, we can see chromatic everywhere. However, in Debussy's etudes, chromatic is no longer a decoration. Chromatic scale and dynamic scale were used at the same time. But after Debussy, there were few practice collections in the second half of the 20th century, and in general, the interest of modern and contemporary composers did not seem to be in the piano. Of course, there are some excellent etudes, such as 3 etudes, Opus 65, composed by Scriabin, and the 4 rhythm etudes and Fawning Fantasy by French composer Olivier Messiaen. There is also etude composed by Tempestin, which softens the classical and jazz style, and the Lyra Palof's etudes are full of high romantic passion. In the second half of the 20th century, however, Ligeti was the most notable etude composer. His 3 volumes of 18 etudes were written between 1985 and 2001. German musician, a professor at the University of Hamburg, Konstantin Flori, once said, Ligeti is interesting in new things. He has a vivid imagination. His music is strict but of full freedom and has a style of emotional expression. He likes strict structures. At the same time, he likes weird affection and prefers for vibrating and complex things. All these are the important characteristics of his mental outlook. Ligeti's piano etudes are more of a challenge to the human mind. I'm going to play the 5th piece of the first book. It describes the rainbow. It has a compound rhythm. The right hand is a quarter note for a beat, 3 beats per measure. The left hand is a half note for a beat, and each bar has 2 beats. If we use mathematical language, the right hand are made up of 3 groups, which is 4 times 3, and the 12 notes in the left hand are made up of 2 groups, 6 times 2. This piece is a tenor and sounds like a fairy, so the composer will suggest when playing notes which are marked with aggression, we should play loudly. Basically, the first note of each group should be interpreted more loudly. To understand this piece, we should carefully identify every sentence and every passage. Although the whole piece is very abstract, however, it is not out of the scope of human thinking and is completely different from the extreme music. Now, let's listen to the song.